Going things locked out.
Yeah.
All right, they should be able to hear you now, and y'all should be able to hear them.
This time I'd like to call the Nash Board of Education Board meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adoption of the agenda, I'd like to add one item, number 11. We'll go back to closed session. And at this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Edwards, second. Second by Ricky Jenkins. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Number 4, approval of board minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve board minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Chavis. Second. Second by Mr. Edwards. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Motion carried. We're down to number 5, recognitions. Dr. Catalano.
Good evening, Chair Lamb and members of the board. We have one recognition for this evening, the Golden Key Achievement Award for 2019-20. The Golden Key Achievement Award program is a set of criteria designed to recognize the great school meal accomplishments in a single school. This award includes recognition for activities that complete current program regulations and best practices. The purpose of the award is to promote benchmarks of excellence across North Carolina and to honor school nutrition programs maintaining high standards. Participation in this award fosters ongoing professional development and improvement in the school nutrition environment and aligns with the United States Department of Agriculture Professional Development Learning Codes. This award was given to Red Oak Middle School manager, Gloria Morgan. Congratulations, Ms. Morgan.
Congratulations, Ms. Morgan. Thank you, Dr. Catalano. Tonight, we have no public input, so we'll go to the approval consent agenda. Ms. Washington.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Ms. Washington to approve consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. To interrupt, we do need to do roll call votes after you get a second. Since we're remote.
You on point, aren't you, girl?
Ms. Chavis.
Yeah.
Mr. Edwards.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Bizzett.
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Silver. Mr. Silver, Ms. Washington,
Yes.
Ms. Bullock,
Yes.
motion carried. Approve consent agenda. Number 8, business items, communication, planning, and engagement.
Mr.
Dr.
Chair,
Catalano.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Silver says he got bumped off and can't get back in.
All right, Mr. McQueen's working on him.
All right, thanks.
Catalano.
Good evening, Chair Lamb, Vice Chair Washington, and members of the board. We have before you tonight a series of donations with the total fiscal implication of $17,500. Please accept the request for the following donations. Baskerville Elementary School received the following donation. Nash Rocky Mount Rotary Club donated $500 to be used for the Backpack Buddies program. Southern Nash Middle School received 2 donations, one from Blake Stoddard, who donated $1,000 to be used for the band program, and a second donation by Base Camp LLC, who also donated $1,000 to be used for their band program. Middlesex Elementary School received the following donation from the Eaton Corporation Charitable Fund. They donated $15,000 to be used in their general fund. The superintendent recommends approval of all donations as presented.
I move that we approve the donations as presented.
And with great appreciation.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Ms. Chavis.
Yes, I'm
Approve the donation.
making the motion. I can't hear anybody inside yet, but I was making the motion that we accept with appreciation.
Okay. Mr. Edwards, you accept the donation?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Bizzard?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Dunton?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Silver? Ms. Washington?
Yes.
Ms. Bullock?
Yes.
Policy proposal, Dr. Catalano.
Good evening. The first policy proposal item that we have for you today, it consists of 2 policies that the policy committee approved. The Nash Board of Education Policy Committee recommends acceptance of the above of the 2 policies for first read to sit for 30 days.
Okay, I have a motion.
So move.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Bullock, second by Mr. Edwards. With Ms. Chavis.
Yes.
Mr. Edwards.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Bizzard.
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Silver.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Ms. Bullock.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Dr. Catalano.
We have one additional policy item on the agenda tonight. This is a new policy from the North Carolina School Board Association, Policy 2127, entitled Board Member Technology Use. Again, this is a new policy, and the policy committee is recommending the acceptance of the policy pending a presentation to the full board by Mr. McQueen. So he is going to talk through policy 2127 with the board.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
As it relates to, the board member technology use board policy 2127. This policy speaks to the conduct of board members and how they should use school issued devices, emails, personal and public social media accounts. So if you look in section 2, the board, it says that the board should not expect any privacy when they are creating or storing or sending or deleting any types of emails or any kind of electronic documentation. So when using school systems devices or accounts. So please note that the school system is required, we're required to monitor, track, and log network access. Is sometimes also called web filtering. We're required to log this information, and this protects us from complying with public records requests. If you look at page two, the policy recommends that board members use school issued devices and accounts versus their own personal accounts when conducting school system business. And the reason why is because these particular documents that school related are ESI, which means electronically stored information, AKA another name for public record. And these records can be a Word document, it can be a PDF, a voice memo, or anything that's electronically that has something to do with the school system. If you look at that second page on number 1, it gives us a clear definition of what personal technology includes: computers, phones, tablet, basically any device that is purchased by a board member. The second section on that page, it wants the board members to, they want the board members to be aware that when you use your personal technology devices or accounts when conducting school business, you may forfeit your privacy on your personal devices. And I explained a little bit more about that. FYI, just so that you guys know, the school system does not have any access to your personal devices or accounts. I got a lot of questions about that last time we presented this. We don't have any personal access to your personal accounts. So however, we are still required, we have a legal obligation to preserve those documents that could be public record, and we call them ESI, which is electronically stored information. If you look at the next section, I know I'm not navigating, but it also states that board members are expected to immediately transfer any school system business related ESI sent or received using personal technology or to your personal account. You are to transfer that information to a school issue account, and this preserves the ESI as well as a public record. In section C, it also mentions that board members are to exercise good judgment online when it comes down to your social media accounts and things of that sort. It also refers to the code of ethics policy for school board members. And page 3, it talks about the guidelines of your personal social media. And this section basically speaks about you as public officials. You have to be aware of your online behavior. And so if you look at the next three letters, what it does is give you a list of standards. It gives you a list of standards to on a guide on how to conduct yourself online with social media, even your personal social media. The next page also talks about that the district website is not a forum, and it can't be used to express individual views of a board member, if that makes sense. The next section talks about how it allows board members to use personal social media accounts to facilitate their own communication to the public, which is, it gives the okay and the stamp of approval with that. In the next few sections, from A through C, I think, it gives standards to guide board members on your personal social media used for school related purposes. The last section is what I really want to bring in account, and I want to bring to your attention. This last section reads that board members should be aware that when they use their personal social media account in their capacity as a public official and allow community members to post comments publicly on that account, then they may be creating something called a public forum. And the public forum is protected by freedom of speech, the First Amendment. So if it is created and you put that on your page, and you, let's say that somebody says something that you're you don't like, so you can't delete this because it's considered now a public forum. So other than that, I think that all of our board members have been governing themselves with this policy, but are there any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions, Mr. McQueen? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the new policy. I made a motion with a second.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bullock, second by Mr. Silver. All in favor, go roll call. Ms. Chavis. Ms. Chavis.
Wait a minute, maybe I don't know if,
Okay, Mr. Edwards.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Bissett.
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Silver.
Yes.
Ms. Washington.
Yes.
Ms. Bullock.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Human Resources, Ms. Privet.
Good evening. Good evening, Chair Lamb, Madam Vice Chair. I am requesting the approval of the action report that was presented tonight in closed session.
I will entertain a motion to approve personnel recommendations.
So moved.
second,
Motion by Mr. Sharp, second by Ms. Washington. Roll call, Ms. Chavis.
yes,
Mr. Edwards.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Bissett.
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Silver.
Yes.
Ms. Washington.
Yes.
Ms. Bullock.
Yes.
Motion carried. Personnel recommendations information.
The only report for approval tonight was the action report. Thank you.
Okay. Curriculum instruction, AIG advanced math update. Ms. Melissa Dancy Smith, Mrs. Wendy Henson.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me join you tonight. I've had a little bit of technical difficulty, so please, I apologize if I go out for some reason. But I want to give you an update on the advanced mathematics law. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background on this law is North Carolina's intent for this was to focus on broadening access and opportunities for advanced learning and ensuring that students are not overlooked for advanced opportunities. This legislation basically ensures that all students scoring at the highest level of mathematics would be guaranteed the same opportunities to take advanced math courses. If you'll see, and this is kind of a little bit more of an overview of the law, this law actually came into play last year. And so our school system has been diligently using this law and making sure that we have enforced it with the actions that we needed. We are now focusing not only in just our middle schools and our high schools, but we're also focusing on our grades 3 through 5 to make sure that they're given advanced opportunities as well, not just our AIG students that are identified in mathematics. So if a student in grades 3 through 5 score a 5 on their end-of-grade test, they will be given those same opportunities. And the only way that they're not given those opportunities is if a parent or a guardian decides that they don't want them to be involved in those situations. What happens with that in 3 through 5 is that we give them the same enrichment that our AIG plan calls for the academically gifted math learner. We may do enrichment groups, we may have them in clusters, but they are given the same opportunities, but they do not have to be identified in mathematics. And then in grade 6 and higher, you see that the students that score at those high levels are enrolled in the advanced course for the next mathematics course that they would revolve into. So if they were taking a compacted math in 7th grade, they would go into, and they made 5 on their EOG, they would go into math 1. And you can see the levels on the next slide. So if we use the 2018-19 data, which we used last school year, you can see if they scored the level 5s, they were in 5th grade, they would go into compacting math for grade 6. And then in level 5 on 6th grade, they would go into compacted math in grade 7. And then if they scored 5 on the 7th grade math EOG, they would go into math 1 for their 8th grade year. If they did not have math 1, but actually did scored an 5 on the 8th grade math EOG, then when they went to high school, they would be given honors math 1. And that's how we kind of proceed through the program. And that's what we did last year. And then this year, due to COVID, there's been a few legislative changes and updates. And you can see we are now going to be using, since we did not have an EOG last year or EOCs, what we'll do now is we'll use the same data that we had the 2018-19 year so far as a test score, but we are also using teacher recommendation, the math teacher's recommendation for those students to go into the next advanced math level. And at this point, that we have no reason not to, push them to the next level based on their abilities, unless it was up to a math teacher that they didn't feel like the qualifications or the student didn't meet the qualifications or ready for the next level. If they had been in these advanced math classes and for some reason we didn't put them in based off of the teacher's recommendation, the student or the parent can ask, to be relooked at, and they would go to their administrators in their building and, discuss the data and see, the reasons why the scheduling may have been different. If we are not in agreement on that, then the teachers, or the teacher's recommendation, they actually can ask for the EOG or the EOC to be given to them at the beginning of this school year. But the student, and that would only be for the sole purpose of determining advanced math placement, but the student would still have to score at the high level of a 5 in order to be placed in a different math class. Do you have any questions?
Board members have any questions?
Edwards has one.
I have a question also.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Henson,
Yes, sir.
when it shows on the graph that the student is doing the math 1 in, is it 7th or 8th grade? 8th, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, that's considered like a high school class, correct?
Right. Yes, correct.
Okay, so they'll get high school credit for that, but it will not go towards their GPA, correct? Am I learning this correctly?
That is correct.
Okay, and how will the parents know that that will happen so they won't be blindsided when their kid doesn't receive a GPA?
Well, their guidance counselors should be a part of that as well, and they would realize that whatever you transfer over from middle school is just the credit. It's not the GPA. The GPA truly does not start until the 9th grade year. So your guidance counselors and when they start scheduling, they should make them aware, as well as the middle school, the teachers as well that are teaching that math course.
And is there a process in place to ensure that the parents, guardians, caretakers of these children do understand that before they take the class?
Yes, and it's also on our website as well. And this has been in play even before the math law came into play. We've actually been offering math 1 to 8th grade students for quite a while.
Who else had a question? Mr. Sharp?
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my question, Mr. Chair. My question is there a certain number of students that are allowed in this program?
No, if they qualify, they qualify. And this law basically is offering it to more students. Our state is really focused on equity right now and making sure that, we can provide the service. You may have a student that's a very high flyer when it comes to math, but they may not qualify for a gifted program based on other data. So this would be given an opportunity, but there's no max or cap.
So if there's no caps and you get a certain limit, are we positioned to be able to sustain that number with the instructional staff?
Yes, we do. We have certified teachers that would be able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from Ms. Henson? That was for information only. Thank you, Ms. Henson.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Communities and school contract, Ms. Wallace.
Good afternoon, board members.
Good afternoon.
I'm here to present the contract with CIS, Communities and Schools, for the 2021 school year. This year, we have agreed to serve 4 of our traditional high schools, Tar River Academy, and our most at-risk middle schools, which include Parker Middle, Edwards Middle, and Rocky Mount Middle. We will match the number of schools that CIS can afford to fund the salaries. The total amount of the the contract for this year is $213,455. And we will also use the school support specialists as means to support the gentleman agreements program that Dr. Ellis is planning to spearhead and get off the ground to support a mentoring program for our kids. So that would be the addition to the duties that the CIS specialists currently have. I would also like to say that each of these schools will have a full-time person to support the needs of the students. Are there any questions?
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Hey, this is Lank. I have one quick question, and if this is more curriculum, then I guess contract, I can ask someone else, but with how the school year will be starting, do we know how these counselors, these CIS staff members will be used kind of in the regular school day as we do start remotely, and their case management, I would assume, becomes a little bit more difficult to manage?
They have a plan in place that is guided by the state CIS division, and they will provide virtual support. They won't be allowed to do home visits and things of that nature as they have in the past, but they will continue to work with the school leaders to ensure that their caseload has been fulfilled and provide the adequate support for academic needs, remediation, social and emotional support as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
They also still provide resources for the families that are partnered with people in the community.
Thank you,
Ms. Wallace.
Yes.
This is Mr. Silver. On a personal note, please indulge me, but thank you so much for reaching out to me and my family when my mom transitioned a few weeks ago. I appreciate your kindness. My question to you tonight is, how much of this is operational in terms of funding?
Operational, 131,864 of the 213,455.
And how much for the mentoring program, if you don't mind?
At this point, really, there's no funding obligations for the mentoring program. They would just be instrumental in ensuring that we have the number of mentors mentors in place to support the
Okay.
students that we plan to the program.
Okay. Did you say there will be a full-time person at each of the locations, each of the sites? Will that
Yes,
include,
sir.
will that include the 3 middle schools and the high schools?
Yes, sir. The only one that's shared, it is a full-time person, and they've done this way for many years, and that's the one at Nash Central High School, because she does 2 days of CIS and 2 days of social work.
Okay.
Primarily
One
because
last question.
DSS funds that. Yes.
Okay, one last question. What is the total number of kids you look to serve?
Normally on a caseload, they have no more than 40 within a school,
Okay.
up to 40.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, this is Bissett. I've got a point here.
Okay,
On item 3, the term of the contract. It actually says it expires June 30th of 2020. Is that a typo, or are we just renewing a rollover contract here?
When I have Mr. Bissett says 2021 fiscal year of July 1 through June 30th.
Okay, I'm just looking at page 2 of 12, line 3, or item 3.
Oh, let me see. That might be a typo, but the one is page 2 of 12.
Correct.
I'm sorry, that's a typo.
Okay, so I just want to make
I can
sure.
amend that.
Okay,
But if you go to page 7 of 12, where it breaks out the terms, it does have the correct dates on the item 2.
good deal.
Skipper, hush.
Okay.
Come,
any other questions?
come, baby.
I will entertain a motion to approve the communities and school contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Washington, second by Mr. Edwards. Roll call vote. Ms. Chavous?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Busy?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn? Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Silver?
Yes.
Ms. Washington?
Yes.
Ms. Bullock?
Yes.
Motion carried. Final 1, NC prayer certification and single set of assurances. Ms. Wallace.
Ms. Wallace?
Okay, we'll go to finance. Ms. Jack?
Good afternoon.
Good
Chair,
afternoon.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chair Lamb, Vice Chair Washington, board members, Dr. Ellis. I am presenting to you several reports that impact financials. Finance Committee recommends the following for approval. We'll start with the budget resolution for of year-end budget amendments for 2019-2020 fiscal year. We will start the audit on August 27th, and because we always have to have approval from the board for any budget changes. We are offering the amendment, the resolution that authorizes the superintendent to approve any final adjustments, amendments to the year of 2019-2020 school year. And all the amendments that we have had changes in funding from the June board meeting, July board meeting to now. And I'll just continue. There are 3 sets of financials that are impacted here. The second one is for 2021 budget. What was presented earlier was a typo in the total for PRC 801. We offered and submitted a correction, and we would like for that approved. And for 2021 budget resolution, we offered and presented to the Finance Committee the budget resolution of all funds and provided the change in the planning allotments that had been funded from state since the budget was approved. So we are looking for the board's approval of all of these reports that have been presented.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Jack? No questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion we approve all 3 items that the CFO suggested here.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Sharp, second by Mr. Silver. Ms. Chavis,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
No.
I'm a yes. Ms. Bizet,
Yeah.
Mr. Sharp,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn. Mr. Dunn,
It was a yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Utilize it.
Mr. Silver,
Yes.
Ms. Washington,
Yes.
Ms. Bullock.
Yes.
Motion carried with 1 no vote. Before we finish up with the budget, I'd like to ask one question if I could. Have all monies owed to Nash Public Schools been settled?
No, we have the amount remaining from EdgeCom of $55,000 that is to come in this month. It's my understanding that it is, they usually use their sales and use tax to make that payment. So that is expected sometime this month. And we will record an accounts receivable on our books for that, anticipating the payment.
Okay, and that's from last year's fiscal budget.
2019-20.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes,
Is
sir.
is that money from Edgecombe County?
Yes.
Okay. Is it always late that we receive their money?
Yes, I've been, I've asked in my office, and yes, it has been late.
Thank you, Ms. Jack.
So then this is nothing unusual.
No, it's not unusual.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. McQueen, do we have Ms. Wallace back yet?
Ms. Wallace, are you available?
She's available. We'll go back to Ms. Wallace. Title I is fair certification and single set of assurances. This is for information only from Ms. Wallace. We need to say a prayer.
Ms. Wallace, I'm gonna send you a phone phone number for you just to call in so we can hear you clearly?
Okay. It'll be-
Moving right along to number 5, athletics, school nutrition and wellness, Ms. Miller.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to share an action item on the athletic trainer contract, which I think you guys have already gotten a copy of. Again, this year, we have been funded from the Carolina Regional Orthopedics, UNC Orthopedics, and at Nash, UNC Physicians Network and Nash Hospital to continue with our certified athletic trainer that oversees our 4 high schools. This is in addition to the first responders that we have at the middle and the high schools. They will consider continuing the funding for the athletic trainer. She is working at the hospital at this time to renew this contract for August the 19th to the end of this school year, around June 30th, 2021. The contract, the reason we're bringing it back for board approval, the only differences that you'll see in this contract versus last year is there are more funding sources through orthopedics. They send the funding to us and we send the check to the hospital because they cannot send checks back and forth to each other. We're just the middle person. It's zero amount for us to pay out.
Thank you. This time I'll entertain a motion to approve the athletic trainer contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sharp, second by Ms. Washington. All in favor, we do roll call. Ms. Chavis?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Bizzett?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins? Yes. Mr. Silver?
Mr. Chair, I made that motion. Yes.
I second
Ms. Washington?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Silver. Ms.
That's
Bullock?
okay.
Okay, this time we will continue.
Bullock,
Ms.
yes.
Bullock. Okay.
Yes, I'd like to share and continue a conversation in reference to paying all Nash County employee coaches and activities directors for band, course, strings, and extra duties for the 2021 school year. We are asking to continue the funding as we have in the past for these resources for coaches and activities directors.
For information on. Any board members have any questions?
Yes.
Mr. Elwood?
I just want to make it clear that includes the stipends.
Yes, sir. That is for all stipends for the 2021 school year.
Any other questions? Again, Ms. Miller, I appreciate your bringing this forward. I'm sure the coaches, band directors, choir directors, we're trying to keep everything as normal that we can as possible. I appreciate what you've done to make sure this is covered. Thank you.
Thank you.
I second that, Mr. Chair.
Then the superintendent's report.
So this is the first day back for staff members. I would like to personally thank them for their return. We definitely have missed them. Because bringing staff back in is the first step, in my opinion, of bringing back students to school. So welcome back. Looking forward to another great year. I did want to bring up, there was a question concerning the safety of when we're going to reopen during Plan B. I wanted to let the board know that the state is developing a scientific advisory board where they'll gauge metrics in the state and give us guidance in deciding where, how we move forward with students in the building. I think they're using the 5% positivity rate, which is what the governor is using. But we also have created one in Nash County. We have the health department, nurses, and physicians. Mr. Farrow is in charge of this. So we're going to have 2 committees when we begin thinking of how we can reopen these schools. We had our first community meeting this morning. Dr. Catalano, I don't know what the official number was, but how many did we have?
We had, during the session, we had 137 participants join the meeting. And think Mark Cohn put it out on the Southern Nash News channels, and they had over 2,000 viewers.
So that was our first, I guess the first one, that work meeting. The second one will be tomorrow at 6. I want to congratulate our team of answering all these questions. We're posting them on the website, making sure we get them as accurate in a timely manner. I think we're answering most all questions now, which is good. And the last thing, I just want to thank all the stakeholders who worked on this reopening plan, from board members to community members, staff members here. We wanted to make sure all the voices were heard. I think we did a very good job of that. So I wanted to thank the team for that. Thank you. That's my report.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Sharp, go ahead.
I got a question or request for the superintendent, please. Dr.
Okay.
Ellis, while I appreciate Dr. Carolina and her efforts to send out report on a regular basis as far as how we're doing when it comes to these positive, outstandings, not only with the state, but also the local, is it possible for her to add a bar graph on a daily basis to show us what that positivity rate is, so we can see the incline or the decline of that when it comes out for Nash County only?
Mr. Sharp, tomorrow I have the first official meeting for that board. And what I'll do is find out how that looks, and I'll let Dr. Carolina see that with me, and then we can go from there. Because I think that's exactly what they're going to try to do, is give us a daily percentage of the county. So I think we'll be able to do that.
Okay, so we don't have that data right now. We just have counts.
Yeah, I think all we have is numbers of cases.
Right, and they're actually not sending, early on, Nash County was sending the numbers by day, and they've moved to every 2 to 3 days they send the numbers. So we're not getting them daily from the county either.
So Dr. Ellis, will you guys be also looking at how that calculation is determined?
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking the answers. I will get those answers tomorrow, I believe, Mr. Sharp, because this is new to me. But I think in conversation with Mr. Farrow and the health department, we'll figure out something we're going to do locally, then on the state level. But I'm sure it's probably going to be about the same percentage of how they come up with that calculation. And I'll let you know. I'll let the board know.
Yeah, I like to understand that calculation.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir. One.
Go ahead, Ms. Bullock.
Is there some way you can also include the data for Edgecombe County in that count? I don't know how to differentiate between the students that we have that attend our schools, but I think that would be interesting for us to know, because they would affect our student count here as well.
I'm sure we can get that, Ms. Bullock.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Ellis?
I've got one, Frank.
We'll go back to the Title I.
Hey, Mr. Bissett has one.
Oh, Mr. Bissett, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if my question's for Dr. Ellis or maybe Chad Thompson or who, but you mentioned today was the first day back, and I still think we've got some questions on the virtual academy. I know I do. So I've got several phone calls over the weekend and including today. Who will be teaching the virtual academy? Is that our classroom teachers that will be doing that? Or are we going to have a separate set of, virtual teachers versus remote teachers?
So right now, I think the parents today, their question was it going to be an online program, which it won't be like it been. We're trying our best to make sure that a live classroom teacher will be teaching the virtual academy. Now, whether it be at their school, that is what we are hoping for, because I think that would make it easier for us. But that is our goal, to make sure they're having a live teacher if they're on virtual academy.
Great. So are we expecting our teacher to just throw out some numbers here, teach a remote class from from 9 to 10 a.m. and then a virtual academy class from say 11 to noon. Are we expecting that out of our teachers?
Right now, we've got a schedule that we posted on the website that we talked about today and what a regular day would look like in a virtual or on our Plan C. What we're hoping is that the teachers can do some recording so they won't have to duplicate their efforts. What they can do is video, record those, post them on the site so students who are virtual can just access those copies.
So if we do,
If you all want to chime in, that's fine, but that is what I was hearing today.
okay, because I think there was a little bit of confusion in the beginning. We had told parents that the online curriculum would kind of be self-paced. They could do whatever, but now it seems like there's a lot of confusion that they're going to have to log on at a certain time in their virtual academy. And that's confusing me also.
That's going to have to be because we have to make sure that we have attendance from the state.
Okay, so they just have to log in at a certain time, but then they can do their work or assignments at a later time, I guess is the question I'm asking.
There's more criteria, but yes, there's an attendance, and then there's also work that they turn in that they're going to get credit to have that they've done their work.
So is it fair to say they're going to follow the same pacing guide as our regular classrooms?
They will.
Okay. Look at Reggie saying, "Hey, Chris." Okay, I think that kind of gets me by just a little bit to answer some of this. I can return some questions.
Any other questions for Dr. Ellis?
For the meeting tomorrow, is there a Connect Edge or anything going out to remind the rest of the public that you got one more chance to listen?
It was posted on the website as of Friday, right on the main site. They give what times and everything else.
Okay, but what about the folks that just don't go around regularly checking the website?
Thank you.
We need to put something out.
I can't hear you.
I think that'd be smart.
Any other questions?
What did Dr. Ellis say?
We couldn't hear Dr. Ellis.
I said we can do a Connect Ed, but we'll have to do it right after this.
Okay, thank you.
Is the meeting at 6?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we will try Ms. Wallace again. Title I NC prayer certification and single set of assurances.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but this is for information only. And basically, according to the federal guidance, it requires that in order for us to receive ESSA funds, we have to ensure to the State Department that we do not have any policies that prevents or denies participation in constitutional protected prayer in public elementary and secondary schools. And to the best of my knowledge, we do not have any policies that denies anybody the right to their religion or prayer in public. And this will be uploaded with our application in order to receive approval for federal funds this school year.
Awesome.
Any questions for Ms. Wallace? Thank you, Ms. Wallace.
Thank you. Sorry again for the technical difficulties.
Now we're down to the chair's report. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Rhonda Bullock. She has sent a letter of intent to take Ms. Ann Edge's place. She's also filed for election come November. If any board member has any questions, Ms. Bullock, now's the time to do it. Thank you, Ms. Bullock, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
The floor is yours. If there's something you'd like to tell us about yourself, this is the time to do it.
Okay, yes, first, excuse my background. That's my husband's. I'm using his computer instead of my laptop. I am actually a product of Nash Rocky Mount, now Nash County Public Schools. I graduated from Rocky Mount High School, well, Rocky Mount Senior High, excuse me. And I'm a graduate of North Carolina Central University. I've worked in education over the last about 15 years. And I actually became a classroom teacher about 6 years ago. I taught at Rocky Mount Prep, and then I moved over to my alma mater. So I taught at Rocky Mount High School for the past 2 years. I am from here, born and raised. And so my investment to the students, to this community runs deep. If you look at the map, I grew up in Hillsdale and Meadowbrook, and so I am a product of this community, and I believe in rebuilding it and making it stronger.
This time, does any board members have any questions for Ms. Bullock?
Mr. Edwards,
Mr. Edwards?
are you still teaching?
I am not. I actually resigned at the end of the close of the school year. I'm actually attending graduate school. I'm working on my master's in higher education, focused on student success. And so this is kind of my way to still be impactful and make a difference in the community. So no, I am not teaching currently. And I'm not related to the wonderful Miss Evelyn Bullock. We are not related.
May I ask the question?
Is that a disclaimer?
Not at all, not at all.
Maybe it should be.
Welcome. Oh, I heard that.
May I ask the question, please, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Ms. Bullock, tell us rather, what do you bring to the board perhaps that you don't see on the board? What skills do you bring or any expertise you bring that would help us to be a better board? And also, why would you want to be a board member?
Okay, well, for one thing, I am fresh out of the classroom. I worked remotely during the beginning of the pandemic. And so my perspective as not only a parent, I have 2 students who attend Nash County Public Schools, but also as a teacher. So I'm a stakeholder in every sense. And so my ability to adjust as a teacher to the changes that we're looking at and the challenges that we're focusing on fixing and finding solutions for, as well as my perspective in logistics. I've been to schools, I've worked at schools. I know how, it looks good on paper, but what can we actually do that will be successful, that will work and will be efficient? So my perspective as a teacher, especially fresh out of the classroom, is definitely something that I think would be useful for the board. I would like, again, to be a board member because I am from here. I have students who are here. I am from this area and it matters. And I love that. I'm actually proud to say that I've watched the sessions previously, and everything is so well thought out and so well presented. So I would like to be a part of that and helping it logistically in terms of what our schools look like today.
And I would just like to make a comment.
Okay.
I've known Miss Bullock since she was a really young girl. And so I'm glad to see her grown up now and taking an interest in our students for our district. And I'm glad to see that she's willing to come in and work with us for the betterment of our community.
Yes.
Any other questions? This time I will entertain a motion to approve Ms. Sharonda Bullock to take Ms. Ann Edge's spot on the Nash County.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by who?
Me.
The second.
The other Bullock, the first Bullock.
Bullock 1, Bullock 2.
There's EB and SB. EB makes the motion. Seconded by Chavis. We'll give roll call. Ms. Chavis?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Bissett?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Silver?
Absolutely.
Ms. Washington?
Yes.
Ms. E. Bullock?
Yes.
Congratulations, Ms. Bullock.
Thank you.
I hope you do realize that replace, I don't think anybody can replace Aunt Edge.
Absolutely.
She was a special woman,
Oh, wow.
a special board member. You got a lot, you got some really big shoes to fill because Miss Edge was a tiny woman.
Yeah.
But I think you can handle it. Look forward to meeting you in person. We get off this crazy Zoom one day, and we will try to swear you in properly at our next board meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to make one comment to Ms. Bullock. The
Yes.
second, Ms. Bullock. We don't wear black and gold. We wear red and white. And your husband, we don't sponsor the black and gold.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to focus and not change it, so I'm waiting until I can get off of the camera to change it. And I'm pleased. I'm comfortable being called Thomas Bullock just because there are a lot of Bullocks in our area. So Thomas Bullock is fine, and I can't compare it to the original Miss Bullock. So.
Oh, sure. Thank you for that, but sure you can.
Okay, this time, Ms. S. Bullock, we'll have to cut you out. We're getting ready to have a motion to go back in closed session.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Evans?
I make the motion that we go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11 A1, A3, and A6 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel files under General Statute 115C-321, to consider matters relating to initial employment of an individual employee, to prevent the disclosure of confidential student records under General Statute 115C-402, and to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
Motion by Mr. Edwards. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Roll call vote. Ms. Chavis?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Bissett?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Silver?
Yes.
Ms. Washington?
Yes.
Ms. Bullock?
Yes.
We're back in closed session.